Hello. How you guys doing? I apologize in advance for the poor lighting around me and the weirdly cropped camera because I'm in a new house and the lighting is a bit weird, but I'm gonna solve it soon. But how are you guys doing? How was your spring break? Mine was busy. Mine was great. Mine was full of moving boxes and moving furniture, and I'm still doing that. It's very exciting, very fun. But I have a very special announcement for you guys. I have asked Neo and Remo if I can do something a little bit different with this show from now on. And I got their blessing. I've been working on this very hard over the past couple of weeks during the break. And I'm very excited to announce that we're switching games. We're moving TheoryCraft. We are now going to be TheoryCraft RuneScape Edition. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm so excited. This is really the game that I've wanted to work on and wanted to show you guys. So we're going to go through the tutorial first, and then we're going to talk a little bit about tick rates, and we're going to talk about maybe 3-tick fishing today. I think I'm going to show you guys some wood cutting stuff, so we just got to get to the tutorial. And then I'm going to show you guys a bunch of stuff. I'm so excited for this. I made my account Grubby Lover 69, and let's see if we can get through the tutorial. All right. All right. Answer the. I've played before, but not recently. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Let's do our settings, guys. Everybody, play along, please. Like, this is the really fun thing about this is you can play along with me as well. So let's do our settings. Let's crank up the music. It's already cranked up. Beautiful. Crank up that gamma too. We're gonna need to see these trees when we start wood cutting. Very good. Very good. No. April Fools. April Fools. I had to do something. I'm sorry. I had to do something. Okay, let's get that out of here. All right. Welcome to TheoryCraft, guys. I had to do something. It's still 1 p.m. here. I know April Fools only goes till noon. Whatever. Okay. We got to show it April 1st. Okay. We got to do something. Now I'm disappointed. I am. If any of you guys want to play some RuneScape sometime, I do play RuneScape. I do. Quite a bit, actually. I've played it probably more than Warcraft. I don't play it currently, but, when I was younger and stuff, I played it quite a bit. So if you guys ever want to, grind some wood cutting with me, I'm right there, man. Let's do it. I'll buy some membership. We can do it. Okay. Damn, I was getting excited. Yeah. How you guys doing, though? How was your little break from, at least from this show? It's been lots of streams lately. Tomorrow we have our 100,000 followers celebration, which is at 10 a.m. Pacific, so 3 hours earlier than right now. That's right? God, I hope that's right. Check our Twitter, check our website, backtowarcraft.com, Twitter at backtowarcraft. Find all that information. All right. So here we are, episode 11. The last episode was, of course, Community Replay Review, which was a lot of fun, and I've gotten a lot of messages recently. If I haven't responded to you, it's because I've been very busy, and I also get a lot of messages, but I will either respond or I will certainly at least see your replay if you send me one. Thank you very much, Vic DeGina, with the 4 months. Thanks, man. I appreciate you, man. All right. 7 CEST. All right, very cool. Thank you for confirming that. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. And we got 5 episodes this month because there's 5 Thursdays in April. So that means we missed an episode last month. But we're going to have 5 this month to make up for it. So we're going to get through all the episodes. We're not going to miss out on any of the races. And we're hopefully going to have quite a nice interview on the 29th. Still scheduling that, but all good things in the future. So today is Orc Day. And what does that mean? Well, we recently had a big tournament, right? I casted it a little bit, and Todd and Neo and Remo and Bidu and Cruncher and Hitman casted it. There's a lot of games. There's 3 streams going on at the same time. And the cool thing about when there's big tier 1 tournaments like the DreamHack Regional Finals is I get to see replays from people when they're at the top of their game. They're preparing strategies, they're hiding strategies until this tier 1 tournament, and then they unveil them and they show them, and people go, what the hell? During the tournament, how am I supposed to figure this out? I got to play this guy tomorrow. I got to figure out how to beat this. I don't know how to beat this. And that's what's so cool about having, more tier 1 tournaments, more big tournaments, is that then we get to do analysis of stuff like that. Whereas a lot of the time I'm taking replays from, ladder games on netties or little cups, which people are hiding strategies, right? They're not going to show their biggest strategies until the biggest tournaments. So that's what's really cool. And I hope I can do more episodes based around specific tournaments. So today is going to be all about DreamHack Regional Finals Asia. We're going to look at 4 replays that are, of course, all going to be orc players. It's going to be tailored around a specific strategy. And the person we're going to be focusing on, spoiler alert, won the entire tournament. I think he won the entire tournament, Lynn I'm speaking of, with only dropping like 3 maps or something like that. Something crazy. He was really, really, really on par. And one thing stood out to me. A lot of it was pretty straight up from Lynn, of course, just very solid play, very solid micro, solid game plans. But there was one thing that really stood out to me. That was a specific variation of a strategy, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to lead into it a little bit with a couple of replays to start, and then we're going to show what he was doing in this tournament as well. But yeah, I was just totally blown away. And I also messaged Hitman the other day. I was like, hey, I'm thinking of doing an episode on TheoryCraft on this strat. What do you think about it? Because I didn't know if he was going to say, oh, it's boring. We've seen it a bunch of times before. It only worked because, his opponents weren't expecting it. But Hitman also agreed. He was like, yeah, this is like revolutionary in the matchup. This is something that's probably going to change the entire matchup, at least in this meta. So this is a very, very cool thing. I'm excited to do this, and I hope I can do more episodes like this with, almost current events, but strategically, if that makes sense. So let's get our notepads out, guys. Let's get our notepads out. Boom, 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 ba-do-do-do-doom. Okay. So today's episode is titled Lynn's Approach to Farseer Headhunters. Why don't you guys just tell me, what are some of your initial thoughts when you hear the name Farseer Headhunters? What do you guys think of? What do you guys think of just generally about the strategy? I, of course, go immediately, my head goes to Chaemiko, of course, the OG for this strategy, and that really infamous, Grubby vs. Happy series. Someone says Ape Strat, which is, of course, yes. Someone says boring. Yeah, I actually am not a person that plays Farseer Headhunters. Someone says lame. Yep, and Grubby, Grubby, of course. And Spiral played it against Happy as well. Grubby's adaptation versus Happy, yeah, exactly. Headhunter Torn Walker. I think I am pooped, says someone. Save Orcas, yeah, Grubby, yeah, right, guys, right. Nonstop pressure, fast creeping on the map, good, very good points. And yeah, it's a strategy that, a lot of people, including myself, actually I've been a little bit resistant to playing it. Similar to how Undeads, I'm sure, feel. I'm an Orc player, of course. Similar to how Undeads probably felt about the Criplord meta. Similar to how Night Elves probably felt about the Keeper meta when that was super strong. Little bit resistant to it, but we do have to embrace it at a time. Maybe not in every matchup, but we're going to be talking about it against Human today, which is actually one of the matchups that I thought, having practiced against Cruncher a bit when he's been preparing for Chaemiko, because he was the only one doing it in the past. So can't find Orc players, to practice against to specifically prepare for Chaemiko when everyone wasn't doing this Farseer Headhunter strat. So he would ask me, can you emulate Chaemiko? So I have a little bit of experience actually playing against Human with the strategy, and I thought it was terrible compared to what I had learned from other Lynn strategies, other Fly strategies, Focus strategies, Hitman strategies. I thought it was very bad. I thought it was great against, in Mirror and against Undead, but against Human and, of course, Night Elf, I thought that it wasn't very good. But then Lynn proved me wrong, as he 100% of the time, of course, would do with what he did in the DreamHack Regional Finals. Chaemiko the best. Spiral, of course, yeah. To the back to Warcraft YouTube channel get hacked. It's April Fools, man. April Fools. You can wreck their whole militia. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this. What are some of the strengths of, let's ignore the Farseer part, because we, of course, have already spoken about why is Farseer strong against Human. Well, it's good to delay their tech, and, it's good to pressure their peasants. It's good to harass while you're creeping up your Tauren Chieftain in standard games, Grunt Shaman games with the fast expansion, that sort of stuff that we even covered in the first episode a little bit about Sock, but against Sock against human, or Sock against Orc, sorry. So the Farseer thing we kind of get. We kind of understand that. That's established in the meta currently, that Farseer is standard, and then generally a Tauren Chieftain second is also standard. But what's good about Headhunters? What's good about Headhunters? What are some of their strengths? Just in general. What do you guys think? A couple of them were already said in the chat. But I got 3. There's probably a bunch more. There's also a couple weaknesses, of course. Piercing damage to Priest. Yeah, piercing damage against the casters is very good. Against the Priest, against the Sorks. They're cheap. Yep, they're cheap, and they also build fast on top of that. Ranged, yeah. They're ranged, and they have a very good range as well. It was buffed. Not recently, but, you know, at least recent history. Jamaican. Yeah, those are all very good point. And what is... one, the build time, the cheapness, and the range give you? Well, it gives you the ability to pressure early game, I would say. Right? So the range allows you, against human we're talking about specifically, it can allow you to cancel their arcane towers if they're in the back of the base. It can allow you to actually take fights straight up. Because piercing damage, although it's not a hard counter to heavy armor units, right? It's not like they're unarmored like Priest or Sorceresses. It still does do good damage against heavy armor, though. Better than if they were, say, medium armor or something like that, right? So they are good against the water elementals, the footmen, the militia when they're not peasant form. So they do have a better attack type than the other alternative, which is grunts, right? Which is normal damage, which is good against the peasants, but not so good against the water elementals, the footmen, or the militia. Decent against the heroes, but still. They outdamage riflemen, yeah. Someone says map control. Troll regen to save money instead of massing salves. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I'd also say, you know, people have said, we said early game pressure. The cool thing about them is they also have late game potential because they, of course, have a tier 3 upgrade that just makes them into a tier 3 unit. So you can build up these units. It's as though you're like massing footmen early game, and then you just get Sundering Blades and Animal War Training for them at tier 3, and they just turn into knights. Right? Maybe not to that extent, but they still have late game viability if you're just building a mass of them in the early game. Which is cool. That's not very... Well, Fiends are kind of like that. Archers are kind of like that. But not necessarily, you know, Grunts or Huntresses or Ghouls to an extent, but not really. They're more of a niche. You know, Rifles somewhat, but the later the game goes, they kind of get not as significant. Especially in this matchup, you know, when Tauren Chieftain hits level 5, stuff like that. You know, but they have this cool tier 3 upgrade, and they're still cheap at that point, right? You could still build them, and even if you're losing 5 of them in a fight, it's not as though you're losing 5 bears, 5 knights, 5 Taurens, 5 mountain giants, you know, because although they're tier 3 units, they're still super cheap and build super fast. So they have the strength of tier 3, but it's still as though you're building like a footman. Right? Is this episode going to be on YouTube? Yes, every episode's on YouTube. You can find a playlist there with all 10 episodes and soon to be 11 episodes. Yeah, and then, of course, someone pointed out earlier the creeping speed as well, because lots of creeps have heavy armor, and we established before that piercing's pretty good against heavy, better than normal damage, right? Of course, against things like trappers, they have medium armor, in which case the normal damage is good, but even the fact that their range also just... You get more damage off overall. You can just creep faster. You can move across the map quicker. So you can just creep faster as well. We're talking about Headhunters right now. Hope the movie went well. It went as good as expected. So not much claps. They're not very good against clap. Absolutely. So what are some of the downsides of Headhunters? Right. So here's some of the upsides that we just talked about. It's just 3, but... Here's 3, but, you know, there's probably more. We could absolutely think of some more, and these could be condensed into maybe one overarching statement about them, or, you know, could be broken apart. What are some of the weaknesses? Of course, they have a weakness when you compare them to grunts, right? A pretty clear weakness in that if you're going to lose a grunt early game, you've made a big mistake. right? You've let it get too low in the harass and then it somehow dies. You've let it get surrounded, right? You've let it get low enough that they can get a unit in front and block it, right? So you've made a mistake in the early game if you lose a grunt. Until you get into actual fights, if you lose a grunt, it's a big deal. Whereas Headhunters, if you are looking on another screen, if you're macroing in your base and you look back and your Headhunter's been being attacked by your opponent for a little bit, the Headhunter is dead. Whereas with a grunt, you have the luxury of being able to be a little bit more sloppy. And it's just you have to invest the salve. So Headhunter is very squishy, and you could very easily, if you're against a stronger opponent, like I found out against Cruncher when I was practicing with him, someone that's just going to out-micro you and get a lot of efficient attacks in with their Archmage, stuff like that, you're going to lose a lot of Headhunters early, right? You're not going to have that mass, so the creeping speed is then, tanked. Your late game potential isn't there because you don't actually have the units you're going into. You can't pressure early game because you're getting out-microed and you're losing units. So they have potential to go very poorly. Whereas grunts, it's very hard to get behind in the early game, unless you make a big mistake. And someone says also against AoE damage, of course, the clap. The clap city can destroy them. Yep. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. But clap is kind of always a problem in this matchup, right? Clap is a little bit of a problem, of course, if you have shamans, it eventually becomes a problem even for the grunts. You really got to get like the Kodos in front and the grunts and the raiders in front to tank it as much as possible. Is this an April Fool's joke? Well, not right now, but there was one before. And then they go Mass Defend Footman. Yeah, the Mass Defend Footman can be an issue as well, but there's a cool thing as well about Headhunters is many players are going to go rifles, right? They're going to go Rifle Caster. What do you do when you go Rifle Caster? If you want to know more about this, you can go watch episode 1 of TheoryCraft where we cover these builds in depth from a human's perspective. When you go rifles, you're typically going for a fast tech to get the Mountain King out early to hit some sort of nice 8.5 to 9 minute timing. So you cut Footmen. You cut Footmen to do that so that you can tech on 2, most of the time, 2, maybe 3 farms, right? So very little Footmen, 3 or 4, maximum 5. So if you're going for rifles, you can't get that mass, you can't get that early defend because you just don't have the means to do so. But if you're going for 2 Sanctum Casters, typically you'll invest more into Footmen. So there's one build where you can kind of hard counter these Headhunters early, and one build with Human where you can't. So the fact that there's a strong strategy with Headhunters means that the Human kind of has to tilt one way consistently. Or else they know if he does go Headhunters, maybe I'm not going to be able to counter them with this massive defend Footman early on. So it gives Orc that sort of pressure that Night Elf has, where they have lots of strategic variants, and they can sort of pigeonhole their opponents into like countering 10 things at the same time, so they're very forced into one sort of strategy that's not optimal against one specific strat, but against the whole variety of them. And that's what having more than one optimal strategy does. So it's very strong, just the fact that this exists, if you see my point. Which is pretty cool. So you don't even have to do this strategy, it just has to exist, and already Orc is stronger by default. It's kind of a cool thing. Whereas Orc has always been in the past the race with the least amount of variability, a very reactionary race. You could argue Undead, of course, before the Crypt Lord, But now they have a couple of options early game, right? Pretty neat. Are there any questions about this before we move on to what the episode's going to specifically cover? Any questions, any points, any concerns, anything you guys think I might be wrong about, whatever. So Human, how do you counter in the early game? I am Human main and I lose 80% to Farseer Headhunters. I might have to do an episode on countering Farseer Headhunters in the future as well. But there are certainly ways, and if you watch Cruncher against Kiwi Cocky replays, I'd recommend to check out how to do that. All right. Yeah, another point somebody just brought up in expansion. Another cool thing about Headhunters, they're very good against a fast expansion from the Human, right? Because piercing damage is good at canceling towers, good at canceling the Town Hall, and you're just better at fighting early game and you just have more units early game than if you maybe you have 2 grunts. You'll be able to do decent damage against the expansion, but you very much have to commit on tier 2 to still stop in the expo. Whereas with Headhunters, oh, they were talking about tier 2 expansion, which is a good point, but at a tier 1 expansion from the human, if you have Headhunters, you can very much stop it. So it cuts out another option from the human. So now Orc has a couple more options. They have this Grunt opener or this Farseer Headhunter opener. And now, whereas human before had the option to kind of fast expand, which they do to an extent still, it's much weaker if there is a Farseer Headhunter opener. Where do I find Cruncher versus Kiwikaki? If you go warcraft3.info, you can find, you just look up their names, and I'm sure you can find plenty of replays. They've played many times. You might have to patch back, but you can find lots of replays, or you can find them on YouTube. If you look up Cruncher against Kiwikaki on YouTube, you can find them. All right. So today's episode, we're going to be watching 4 replays. They're all going to be from the DreamHack Regional Finals. It's going to show 3 different Orc players. Although this episode is about Lyn, I want to show a couple other Orc players. And these replays, note, they may not all be from the same day, but they're at least from the same 2 days, I believe, of games. So these happened within 48 hours of each other, all these games. They weren't over months apart. People didn't have time to study these replays and adjust and stuff. These were from the same 2 days of games, the same tournament, and very often the same human players we're going to be seeing. So we're going to watch a game from Fly, a game from Focus, and then we're going to watch 2 games from Lyn. And I want you guys to notice that slowly as we watch these 4 replays, we're going to see... We're going to start with maybe the weakest Farseer Headhunter option, and then maybe a slightly better one, and then we're going to see Lyn just some of the most beautiful play I've ever seen in my life, from an Orc player. So we're gonna work our way up there, and we're going to try to point out things that we think that maybe Fly and Focus are doing well. And maybe why they've reached that conclusion, because of course very strong players, they have reasons for doing these things. They're not just blindly doing stuff. They have good reasons and they have good results, I'm sure, in the past with doing these strategies. So we're going to see, okay, why were they doing this? What went really well for them? And then why is it maybe not as good as the Lyn option? Right? So we're going to watch 4 replays. And just remember, these are all from the same tournament. I'm going to point this out a bunch of times, but it's a very important fact. Same tournament, same 2 days of games. So it's not as though these players could go and I'm going to practice this new style because I saw that Lyn was really good with it. No, they had to adjust, and the human players, the same thing. Oh, I'm going to go study these replays for a week and do some practice games and figure it out. No, they didn't have that luxury because they had to play each other the next day. They had 8 hours to prepare, right? Which is a very important fact. This is from the DreamHack Regional Finals Asia, which happened at the beginning of March. Less than a month ago. All right. So replay 1 is going to be, we're going to watch Fly first against Chaemiko on Concealed Hill. All right. I think we covered everything. Yeah. Let's watch the replays. Boom, 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 boom. All right. Please let me know if the in-game sound is all right, if the overlay is working all right, if you guys can hear everything, and should be all good. Should have heard that burrow. Okay. In the top right of Concealed Hill, RW is, of course, Fly. Chinese Orc player, very, very strong. Spoiler alert, got second in this tournament. So was not at all playing poorly in this tournament. Was playing very well, in fact, and lost to Lyn in the finals. So made it all the way. And the bottom left, of course, Chaemiko, the Korean human incredible player. He's so good. He's so good. And let's see. So there's a few options for how to open Farseer Headhunters, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get deeper into the replays. But let's just notice what build order Fly goes for. We know it's going to be Farseer Headhunters, but let's see what he does here exactly, and then we'll notice the differences. All right, there's the War Mill. Hey, let's just see. Let's just see. Because, of course, you can get your barracks after your tech. You can get it before you tech. You can get a second burrow before you tech. So it's really about what speed do you want your tier 2 to be completed? And how many headhunters do you want to have early to do that pressure that we've been talking about, right? So this is an extra peon, right? One extra lumber peon. Pretty neat.
Forces are under attack.
And the barracks, after the tech started, the Farseer comes out. Chaemiko's doing the standard creep route. We'll see how many farms he has. 2 farms. Those of you that have watched TheoryCraft in the past, what does 2 farm tech mean? What does this mean? What do we see in the human player? When Fly comes here and scouts the main base, what can we assume about the strategy of our opponent? This is a big tell, at least for the Korean human players. I won't say it's a big tell for everyone you're going to be facing on ladder, or all the European players, maybe the Chinese human players. But against the Korean humans, Sokka Chaemiko, this is a big tell. Rifle caster, of course. Rifle caster. Yep.
A player's forces are under attack.
And it also means very little footmen. What we established earlier about very little footmen counts is you can't get early defend, or at least if you do, it's not that effective. And no fast expansion, of course. A very good point. A very, maybe obvious when we see the tech there in front of our faces, but still important to point out. Absolutely. A little bit of pressure on the Archmage. This sort of harassment is, of course, established principles in the matchup. You're trying to pressure the Archmage so that he can't creep freely, and you're trying to delay the tech as much with a little bit of harassment on the peasants. This is all standard theory, let's call it, in the matchup. The barracks comes up. We should see a headhunter very soon. A little bit sloppy on the macro, but not the end of the world. A little bit of pressure. Wolves going to the right side. The Farseer is going to the left side because Concealed Hill is a map that's designed in such a way that there's really only 2 paths. So if you cover both paths, you can pretty much find your opponent 100% of the time. Nice little last hit. More damage on the Archmage. There are fountains, but if you're sitting at the fountain, you can't really be creeping too much. Juke and jiving. Fly knows, of course, if he gives up a creep, it's going to be level 2 for that Archmage, so he's trying to, and he actually does get that next creep as well. And what's he delaying right now? He's delaying the aura, of course, and he knows that because he knows how much experience this orange camp gives, right? So these are very important denies. These aren't little denies for Fly. Look at the mana now. No aura this entire time. This wolf may give... Okay, never mind. Notice if Chaemiko does get a wolf, he'll be level 2 as well. So very important to have clean, crisp macro. Or micro. Well, and macro, but micro here. Again, this creep will give level 2, and he does get it. But still delayed for a very long time. We see the effectiveness of the piercing damage, whereas the grunts would just sort of be trying to not get surrounded, especially against a player of Chaemiko's caliber here. The headhunters can poke from afar, and look at all the damage he's put on footmen now. 1 footman low, 2 footmen go into the fountain. The wolves can go there to try to stop the footmen from healing. And he's also forced Chaemiko into a couple of extra footmen. We said about 5 max when you do go for rifle casters, and I believe that's what he's gone for. So Chaemiko's done his tier 2. Fly has done his tier 2. Let's take a look at what he's going to do. Tauren Totem. What may the Tauren Totem be for? Of course, there's only 2 units that you can build. But if you were to scout this as a human player, what would this Tauren Totem indicate? Well, probably that your opponent's looking to go tier 3 with Taurens eventually, but for now, just Spirit Walkers. What also can we gain from this? Well, Spirit Walkers take longer to get online than Shamans because Purge is instantly out, so Water Elementals are more effective because you need to wait for the Adept training and generally 2 Spirit Walkers from this Tauren Totem. Also, if you're going for Taurens, you of course need tier 3, so this means Fly is going for I wouldn't call it greed, but it's a strategy that's going to take a long while to get online. And right now he's got 1, 2, 3 Headhunters and building a 4th. Here I would expect a Torn Chieftain, but Fly is going to go for a Shadowhunter. What's the Shadowhunter good against? Well, it's certainly not as good as the Torn Chieftain, arguably. Or probably factually, because that's what most people go in this matchup. But what it's good against is if there is Defend on the Footmen, you can Hex them and kill them, and they don't have Defend when they're Hexed. And it also, this allows Fly, since he's going to eventually go for the tier 3 tech, as we just established, this allows Fly to maybe pressure away the Archmage, because Hexes is better than level 1 Stomp straight out of the altar. Torn Chieftain is much stronger than the Shadowhunter on level 3, but on level 1, you could argue that the Shadowhunter is better, and it's easier to keep you safe because you can guarantee getting unit kills. So this Shadowhunter is almost like security to allow Fly to go for this tier 3 tech, and allow Fly to get these walkers online with Adept. So the Shadowhunter is for a reason. Although late game, you could definitely say that it's worse than the Torn Chieftain. But that's the idea that Fly's going for. Chaemiko, of course, we've established, is already going for Rifle Caster. But he invested into a couple of extra footmen to deal with the Headhunters. So, you know, his Blacksmith's a little bit delayed, and he's actually going to go for a Blood Mage. And we'll talk a little bit more about this later on. Yeah, I can upload these replays after, for sure. Shadowhunter comes out and creeps. And of course, the creepy speed is very, very good. Boots of speed on the Archmage, which is good against Headhunters because if you can pick them apart, that's very, very good. Here's the Hex coming into play. If this is a level 1 Torn Chieftain and say there was a Mountain King coming across the map instead of this Blood Mage, this could be bad news bears, especially on a map like Concealed Hill for Fly. But because he has the Shadowhunter, because Chaemiko's going for a different strategy, which again we'll talk a little bit more after, he's actually allowed to creep a bit, and he's able to push Chaemiko off of him because of the Hex, because of the secondary hero choice of Chaemiko as well. One footman going to go down, and the creeping can be allowed to start yet again. We're of course going to see a tier 3 tech. Note that it's been confirmed by Chaemiko as well. He knows there's tier 3 tech, he knows there's a Torn Totem. I would expect to see a second Torn Totem as well. One of those places. Chaemiko knows he can't get much done in the way of stopping Fly from creeping, so what's the second best thing? Well, of course, stealing big creep camps away from him. So this is a very good choice from Chaemiko, and he's going for a timing. Hello, Pimps. How you doing? He's going for a timing, so he wants to be able to creep up a little bit. And getting Blood Mage level 2 before these sorts of timings is always very strong, especially getting level 3 Archmage as well. He's very strong. What can Fly do as well with the Shadowhunter? Of course, you can pull all 3 red camps, as Focus showed us against 120 2 years ago. You can pull all 3 red camps and Hex them and creep them very safely. You can do it, of course, without the Shadowhunter, but the Hex helps, and the Hex can also help for this. There you go. Something you can't do with the Torn Chieftain is just come here and just straight up creep this. So again, Fly's using the Shadowhunter for a specific purpose. And he's going to get a very good item. Not the best, but a very good item. Chaemiko just continue to creep. He's going to get level 3, he's going to get level 2. Priests, Riflemen, Militia are being called. What could they be called for? Possibly to go for this red camp. But there's also a couple of other things he could be calling these for. Oh. And yeah, this is it. Level 3 Archmage, level 2 Blood Mage. Rifle, couple of Priests. I'm assuming Adept is on the way. Not quite yet because he's a little bit low on gold. But 48 supply. And look at what's happening in Fly's base. His tier 3 is just about to finish. Look at this timing. His tier 3 is just about to finish. He's just now building a second Torn Totem. Does he even have Adept yet? Okay, he does have Adept, but he's lacking a second Spirit Walker. Right? Look at this timing. Look at this timing. 35 supply against 48. And this is where I said, this is a very strong strategy, but it takes a long while to get online. So there's holes that can be poked in it. What holes can be poked in it? Look at this. How can she slap? Look at this. Knocking on the door. The tier 3 is going to finish. And what does Fly have? Not much, I tell you. And to boot, he's going to be creeping as well. Oh, and he buys a shredder. He buys a shredder, of course, to get more lumber for the Torns he wants to get, for the master training he wants to get. Oh, and look at the creep jack. Look at it. Look at this. Look at the timing. Look at the timing. 2 headhunters fall. Even if this creep jack didn't happen and those 2 headhunters didn't fall, look at what Fly has still. He's getting master training for the walkers now. He's getting a second Torn totem. He doesn't even have enough gold to build a Torn currently. Look at the timing. 47 against 37 supply. Yeah, there's a tech disadvantage, but the tech has not kicked in yet. This is the tech kicking in right here. This is it. This is all that Fly has managed to get from tier 3 thus far. No orb even, because he doesn't have the gold for it.
A player's forces are under attack.
And the Shredder falls as well. But again, I asked the question, if those 2 Headhunters here didn't fall, if that Shredder didn't fall, would we be looking at a different hold from Fly? Potentially he could do a little bit better. But I don't think he would still be able to fight straight up for at least another maybe 45 seconds. Blood Mages, of course, look what it's good for. It's good for sustaining this push. That's why Chaemiko's chosen to go for this, because he knew that Fly was going for a greedy build that takes a long while to get online. So he's going for a long, sustained push. And with Siphon, with Priests, he can really just pick apart Fly when he has no mana. You know, he's only got walkers. It just, where's the army, right? Where's the army? Infinite water elementals, right? So again, we've established that Fly was doing the strategy with a purpose. Everything had a reason, and this strat would have been very strong if given maybe another minute. You know, you could argue times, how much time Fly needed before this push came in. Everything had a purpose. Shadowhunter had a purpose, you know, the amount of Headhunters had a purpose, the tier 3 tech, he's going for Torrens, right? His creep route was good, his harass was good as well. But still, Chaemiko just finds an answer that looks unstoppable, given these 2 strategies up against each other. More walkers, but what are walkers good for? I mean, they can kill the footmen, but you're dealing with rifles, boy. You're dealing with rifles. One arcane tower in the back, why not? A lumber mill. Miner in his base, try it out. Level 3 Shadowhunter is going to be online, but look at the mana. And at this point, Torn Chieftain would be great, because you'd have Aura, but that's all you would have from the TC as opposed to the Shadowhunter, right? You would have level 1 Aura. And again, I asked the question, would level 1 Aura help Fly hold this push? Debatably. Maybe if you had that Shredder, had those 2 Headhunters still, had a TC level 2 instead of a Shadowhunter level 2, would he hold this push? Debatably. Shop's gonna get canceled. There's level 3. He does have a heal wave. Got Master Walkers. Hasn't been able to really afford a Torn yet. Hey, man, if he had that Shredder, actually, he'd be able to get a couple of Torns out. Yeah, Blood Mage is extremely good for this sort of a pressure. And, of course, Chaemiko's just microing beautifully behind all this. I'm not saying that, you know, if Fly was doing this strategy and he came up against this timing against a weaker player, that he wouldn't be able to hold it. But because Chaemiko is very equal in skill with Fly, and because he's very much a mechanical player with very strong micro, that's his strength as a player, this is just a beautiful counter to what Fly is doing, right? Level 3 Blood Mage, as though he needed it. And so a couple things went wrong for Fly, right? We can't say this is just a strategic loss, because a couple things went wrong. You know, the Creep Jack was bad. You know, the Shredder dying was very much unfortunate. So there's a couple things that you could argue, you know, maybe this replay is not too important, because there's some things that went wrong for Fly. So the next replay we're going to watch after this one, those things aren't going to go wrong. Those things aren't going to go wrong. Oh, we're getting a Lin. Don't worry, we're getting a Lin. Speed scrolling out to maybe, I was going to say maybe go buy a Shredder, honestly, because his lumber's low and his gold is good. Could have even maybe bought an orb, but his shop has gotten canceled. Going to buy a heal scroll, I imagine. Double heal scroll, because what else is Fly going to use his gold for? Chaemiko went into Blizzard. And we see, this strat just isn't online. It has not been online the entire time. The Headhunters not doing anything against the Rifle Army, and the Walkers not doing anything either. Fly really needed maybe 2 Taurens and Master Spirit Walkers, and then he would really be able to put in some work. But as it stands, Chaemiko's only lost Footman. He's lost, what, 3 Footmen? That's it, the entire game. And even though Fly's reviving his Spirit Walkers, they come back and they just give more experience. And just beautiful Blood Mage usage. Not an easy hero to use. Not an easy hero to use, let's say, optimally. And there's just no way. There's just no way. And GG is called. Alright. So that's replay 1. So what are some good things that we can take from that? What are some good things? Well, you know, he was doing it with a purpose, right? He had nice creeping, like the idea of getting that Shadowhunter out, pressuring Chaemiko off, because Concealed Hill is a map that, as it plays out, generally early tier 2 as the Orc player, you're going to get a lot of pressure from the human, just because all the creep camps you have to take are very much risky. So the human can come across the map and pressure you a lot. That's generally how it plays out for the Orc player. So he went for the Shadowhunter to sort of stop that, to give himself some more space, and then with that space, he took a red camp, which also the Shadowhunter allowed him to do that efficiently. Right, so there was a lot of... That was a good thing. I think the Shadowhunter usage was good. The Harass early game was good. He used the Headhunters to effectively keep Chaemiko on level 1 for a long time. And he forced Chaemiko to go for extra Footmen, which delayed the rifles. Right? So there was some very good things. What was bad about it? Well, it had a hole to be poked in it, which was this timing, which didn't seem like Fly had much of a chance to hold. Right? So there, you know, there was good things about the strategy, but there was a way for it to be countered. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty neat. So this next replay we're going to watch is now going to be Focus going Farseer Headhunters against who? Oh, Chaemiko. Ooh. And let's see how Focus does. Let's see what adjustments he makes, how he plays a little bit differently. And of course, the maps will play a little bit into this. The first one was on Concealed Hill. This is going to be on Last Refuge. Unfortunately, I can't find perfect examples on perfect maps as well. But, you know, this is going to be Focus against Chaemiko from the same tournament, playing Farseer Headhunters. All right, let's check it out. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. All right, here we go. Replay 2, baby. Here in the top right of Last Refuge, we have Focus, the Korean Orc player. Here in the bottom left, we have, of course, Chaemiko. And let's watch. Again, we said we're going to pay attention to what the opening builds are. Not that they have too much importance, right? Very much map dependent, I would say, the opening build orders. But there is variability, so let's note the variability between strategies, if there is any. And let's try to also compare this game to Fly's game. See what maybe Fly did better, see what maybe Focus does better, and see what maybe commonalities they have that they both could improve on. Let's try to notice that in this replay. Oh, that coffee's cold. Oh, yeah. All right, there's Warm Mill. Gonna see Farseer. Boo, 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 boo. Chaemiko, of course. The Bluda Mage. No, Archmage, sorry. Blood Mage was still on my mind. 2 farms? Is it 2 or is it 3? We'll find out soon. Barracks. Earlier barracks note. than Fly had. So this will give him Headhunters much earlier on. Yeah, this is a different build than Fly did, that Focus is doing. So now we have 2 different strategies, but with the same units early on, right? Different little build order. Just noting the differences. So this is going to give more Headhunters early. What does more Headhunters give early? Well, it delays your tech, but it gives you more chance to pressure your opponent. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I would say that this is the best map for Headhunters. This is honestly the map that Headhunters have been the best on for a long time. This is probably what started this strategy, and a lot of the time the Asians were only doing Farseer Headhunters against human on this map. And on every other map, they were doing the other Lin style, you know, the Grunt Shaman Kodo with no Headhunters. So this is the kind of classic map at this point. Priest is pulled, standard stuff. Focus is going for this High Priest, which is also pretty standard. And we're going to see some weird stuff happen with the creeps this game. Don't worry about it. I don't think this is on purpose, but hey, Save Orcas, if you're in the chat, try it out. See if you can get this consistent, because this would be cool. But I don't think this is on purpose from Chaemiko. And maybe if these wolves didn't come in, this was possible. But as it stands, look at all the damage on everything. Wand of Illusion, the best item possible from that priest. We'll find out why it's the best item possible from that priest soon enough. 2 Headhunters out. Tech has started. The 3rd on the way. Much earlier dual Headhunters from Focus. And he's using that to creep both the priests, which he could do with just the Farseer, but it takes a lot more time without these Headhunters. This was a 2-farm tech, by the way. We see the 3rd farm coming up, and we see much earlier Blacksmith from Chaemiko this game. Of course, a little bit of a delayed tech because the priest costs 20 lumber. 10 lumber? 20 lumber? Someone correct me. I think it's 20. Maybe it's 10. Maybe it's 30. I don't remember. There's the 3rd Headhunter. The 4th is on the way. The creeps are still going crazy. They're going banana. They're going ham sandwich. Okay. This will be level 2. Again, the aura, very important. Look at the mana. Look at the creeps. Why are the creeps doing this? Because there was an illusion, which Focus got 2 charges of 2 full things of, pulling all the creeps. And this is why illusions are very good on this map. Focus is going to get level 2, which is very nice. Of course, we expect to see rifles coming out. Rifles. 3rd burrow. Tier 2 about to finish. And again, we pointed out what happened on Tier 2 last game. We'll see what Focus is doing on Tier 2 this game. We'll see commonalities, we'll see changes, and we'll see what the strengths are. But we could also point out a couple things that have gone different this game for Focus as opposed to Fly. Fly was much more aggressive last game, which of course is to do with the map. Definitely worth noting, to do with the map. But also Focus prioritized creeping to level 2, whereas Fly prioritized trying to delay the Archmage's level 2. So a couple of differences, and honestly a little bit strange, right? Because Focus invested earlier into Headhunters, but he did so that he could creep. Whereas Fly delayed his Headhunters a little bit so that he could pressure. But just little bits, little differences, worth noting. But Headhunters, of course, both good at pressuring and creeping. So, you know, who's right, who's wrong? Probably me. Tier 2 comes up. Tauren Totem again. What does this tell us? Well, tells us again it's going to take a little while for Focus to get online. Right? He's going to want Spirit Walkers. He's going to need Adept training. Hello, sweet. How you doing? He's going to need Adept training. Right? So he's going to need 2 walkers. It's going to take him a long time. He's going to need tier 3 tech if he wants to get Taurens. He's going to need a second Tauren Totem to do so as well. So again, we're establishing it's going to take Focus a long time to get online. Tauren Chieftain second, which makes sense on this map because the human's typically going to, you know, maybe creep a little bit more. He's got a lot of safe camps that are very high value next to his base, whereas on Concealed Hill, not so much. So it's, you know, you're more likely to have a little bit more space to creep your Tauren Chieftain, and also the Shadowhunter, you can't do any of those nice tricks like taking the red camp, so the Tauren Chieftain makes sense. Yeah, you can click on Moobot and mute the user Moobot if that bugs you. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. But yeah, you can, if there's any flood from the bots, you can just mute them yourselves. Thank you, WePlay. All right. So now, you know, both Fly and Focus have done slightly different strategies, right? They've had a couple of different things, the secondary heroes, the opening build orders, but they've both gone into Headhunters, they've both gone into Tauren Totems, they're probably both going to go into Tier 3 tech. Right, but they're both doing so with purpose. They're not throwing darts in the dark, right? They're doing things with purpose, for a reason, with strategical viability. But let's see, how does it work out? Let's see.
A player's forces are under attack.
A lot of damage. Again, the pressure. Ooh. How can she slap? Well, I got 2 Wands of Illusion. That's how I could slap. And look at the Archmage taking a lot of damage, but luckily the Priest is full mana. And here comes in the play the creeping ability of these Farseer, or these Headhunters, right? Which is why they were always so strong on this map. Because there's such high value creep camps to take. You can get both these shops, right? Kadrinro. Sorry if I mispronounced that. 3 months, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That was the last hit from Chaemiko, which is nicely done. And he's just trying to pressure Focus from getting these high value camps. Just trying to poke and prod and delay as much as possible, which is very nicely done. Tauren Chieftain out. Note again, 4 Headhunters. Last game from Fly, it was also 4 Headhunters. Note the Water Elemental again scouting. The Tier 3 tech scouting the Tauren Totem for Chaemiko. All the information in the world Chaemiko has. Blood Mage again. Looking like a pretty similar game, right? With an earlier Blacksmith, less investment into foot. Which again is just because of the map. Illusion being used yet again very nicely to pull this Golem. Of course, if you pull it with your actual hero, it will get Hurl Bouldered is the ability, or, you know, you just call it Bolted, probably. So if you do it with Illusion, it won't, so you can do it very easily. Again, the creeps are going nuts, but there's enough Headhunters to just clean this up. So the creeping is good for Focus. It's very good. Again, we're probably going to want to see Blood Mage level 2 if possible, but the Archmage has gotten level 3, and I would say that's the important level up for Chaemiko. I'm going to take a look at the Tier 3 tech. It was just about to finish when Chaemiko hit his timing last game. It's even earlier, but he's going to creep 1 camp first for Chaemiko. Another change in strategy is Focus is actually going for a Bestiary and a Tauren Totem. So what does this give him? Well, a Kodo is very good for the aura, of course, but it also gives you the opportunity to devour units, which helps very much in these fights to hold. If you devour one of these rifles, that's essentially a third of your DPS if there's no water elementals on the field, right? Because the heroes are good, but, you know, this Blood Mage is siphoning, this Archmage takes too much damage, has to back off. These rifles are really the bulk of your damage. So even though a Kodo is going to take extra damage from them, if you're able to get a nice Stomp Devour in, very, very value. So this Kodo actually will allow Focus to hold earlier pressure much better than Fly, who was much greedier with his. He didn't go for this Bestiary, he just wanted Taurens. Right? Whereas Focus is going a little bit more conservative with his approach in terms of army composition. Getting the single Kodo can even get some Raiders as well, which would be great. So again, a slight change from Focus. A couple of slight changes. I think I've counted 3. 3 thus far. Or even 4. Yeah, let's say 4. There's level 2. Same level the Shadowhunter was last game. Do note. Although the Farseer is level 3, which I do not believe it was last game. And here's the timing. Tier 3 tech finishes. Blood Mage is level 2. 48 supply. Peasants here. This is the same timing from Chaemiko. It's the same timing, but Focus is in a better spot, right? He didn't lose those 2 Headhunters. He didn't lose his Shredder. He's got the Kodo. The timing hit a little bit later. So he's even going to get the upgraded War Drums. He's got Tauren Chieftain, which may be better than the Shadowhunter at holding these sorts of pushes because you have the Aura And Stomp is good in clutch positions, so Focus is in better shape to hold this timing than Fly was. Much better shape. In fact, I would say he's not behind at all right now. He's not behind at all. Walker's coming out. First Torn coming out. Walkers are not master, but we didn't even see Fly get a Torn out last game. Farm in the front, just for a little bit of a blocker. And this is looking pretty good, right? For Focus, it's looking pretty good. Much stronger. He seems much safer. He's going to have a Torn, like I said. He's getting more burrows. He's not under too much pressure. He's not overcommitting to anything. This is a nice Arcane Tower, but he can deal with it. Because, of course, it gives vision when it starts to attack. Oh, the Walker falls. That's unfortunate. But there's the Kodo. Although it's taking a lot of damage from the rifles, getting that single rifle devour is great. And then just sit in the back with that aura. And that's fine. First Torn out. They're just sort of trading units. But so far, Chaemiko's gotten the upper hand until that Chain Lightning. Now I think they've traded 1-for-1. A Walker and a Headhunter for, what, a Footman and a rifle. And the tower died. Or 2 rifles if you count this, actually. So, pretty even. Pretty even. Because a Walker is, of course, a high-value target for Chaemiko to kill. Siphon is very good. Heal wards are also very good. Chaemiko's using the high ground very well. Banish on the Tauren. That's a little bit unfortunate. That's also another reason why the Blood Mage is so good. Mana Pot Stomp right here would be good. Heal wards, high ground. And, you know, some decent kills. Oh my lord. Yeah, that's that's pretty good. That was a pretty good surround. But still, not looking bad for Focus, right? 52 against 54 supply, but it's going to plummet a little bit. More Torns are coming out, though. At this point in the game, we saw Fly pretty much cowering in the back of his base with 2 units, right? So, looking much better. Still looks holdable for Focus. But he is not trading efficiently anymore. He lost a Torn before, he just lost another Headhunter. He's killed all the Footmen off, he's killed a couple of rifles. This guy just finished devouring, but still has not traded perfectly. Still hasn't used that mana pot, waiting for the perfect time. Maybe could have used it earlier. Another Walker falls. And I will say, again, Chaemiko has been microing this insanely. Insanely. Right? So, you know, if this wasn't as well microed, there's probably a good chance the Focus holds here. So he's making some adjustments, probably not as a direct influence from Fly's game, but as from his own experience. He's made some adjustments to be a little bit safer against these sorts of timings, and they're working out in his favor. And the map is also working out in his favor. But still, as it stands, Chaemiko is microing his mind out. Microing his brain out. As he saves another rifle. But there's 2 Taurens. There's about to be 3 Taurens. No Master, which is unfortunate, but you just can't prioritize it because Focus invested in this Bestiary, not a second Tauren Totem as Fly did. Three Taurens out. Can only banish so much. Blood Mage is out. The Tauren Chieftain lives. Alright. 2 Taurens fell to the north, by the way. That's a nice stomp. There's a mana pot for another one. The TC has to be careful, though. But he falls. Level 4 Blood Mage. And there's just not much more. Eventually, Chaemiko just spoons his way to a victory, despite Focus being even supply for a lot of this, and having the tech advantage, and having even hero levels. Right? They were both level 3 too. Focus had Taurens on the way, but still there's a hole in this strategy, which is a little bit greedy, right? A little bit greedy. And there's opportunity for the human to sort of push and just end the game like that. Took some beautiful micro, but still, these are high-level games. You got a micro. Got a micro to win. The Blood Mage is very good. Nice hoodie. Thank you. So what maybe, let's start with this. What maybe did Fly do a little bit better than Focus? Let's think. What did Fly do better than Focus? You know, I can't actually think of anything, because Focus crept very well himself. His harass was very good. Maybe the delaying of the Archmage level 2, Fly did a little bit better. Maybe base build. But, you know, it's also map dependent. But Focus did a lot of things better than Fly, I would say. He didn't get creep jacked, of course. You know, and Focus also had a couple adjustments. That early Kodo. Level 3 are Farseer early, right? Using the illusions very well, the creep. Did a lot of things. But was still too greedy. Couldn't hold. Still too greedy. And now we get to the good part. These next two replays are Lynn playing Farseer Headhunters. So now we've seen two people. Note, again, these games are from the same tournament as Lynn's games. The same, probably, day. Right? Would you say they both need a better wolf scouting? Yeah, that's a very good point. They could both... Oh, that's actually a very good point, because we're going to see that very well from Lynn, actually. Scouting is going to be play a very crucial role. I would say that's a great point we play. That's a very good point. Better wolf scouting, absolutely. Knowing when the timing is coming, you know, confirming that Blood Mage, maybe trying to pressure that level 3 Archmage for longer so you have a little bit more time. I would say they both lacked in buying time. Right? They both lacked in buying time. They needed to buy a little bit more time because, as we mentioned in the Fly game, if he had 45 seconds, another minute, he gets a Torrent out. He's already got Master Walkers, maybe able to start pumping a second Torrent out. That Shredder's safe to the base. He saves those two Headhunters. Maybe Fly has a good chance in that first game. So yeah, I think they both lack. The scouting helps you to buy the time. Buying the time allows you to get to this tier 3 strong army, right? But still, let's see. Let's see what Lynn does. Because what Focus and Fly did in these last two games is very much the standard. Going for tier 3, going for either Bloodless Shamans, right? Or going for Torrents with Walkers. But it's very typically Torrent Chieftain second, and you're going to go for tier 3 most times. This is how Kiwikaki plays it. This is how Grubby plays it. Of course, you guys remember War 3 Champions against Blade. This is what Grubby did. Went for Torrents. You guys remember on Autumn Leaves. This is how people play it. But then Lynn does this. Oh, Lynn does this. Oh, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? Because, you know, you guys might tell me I'm crazy at the end of this, but this is one of the greatest performances I've ever seen in my life. This is just some of the clearest, most concise game plan from an orc player I've ever seen in my life. And it happened like 3 weeks ago. This is sick. This is sick from Lynn. This is some of the best set of games. Maybe not these specific games. They prove a point and show you guys kind of what the nuances of the strategy are. But there were some other games, I would say particularly against Infi, when Infi played random, there was a very strong game. But Lynn's performance here, unbelievable. Unbelievable. So we're going to watch two of them. And he's going to open Farseer Headhunters, and then he's going to do some wacky stuff. All right. Unbelievable. All right, you guys ready? Unbelievable. So this first game is Lynn against, who do you know? Chaemiko. On what do you know? Last Refuge. Boom. All right. Same opponent that just destroyed Fly and Focus. They didn't have a chance. Here we go. All right. In the top right, we got, this is Lynn from Korea. possibly the greatest player of all time. Possibly. And I'm talking skill-wise, not, GOAT status or, tournament earnings. I'm talking actual skill. Probably the greatest player of all time. IMO. And in the bottom left, it's debatable, of course. It's debatable. Totally debatable. We have an incredible player as well, Chaemiko. Incredible player as well. So again, let's note the build. We saw from Fly on Concealed Hill, which again I mentioned was probably map dependent, but he went for barracks after tech and later headhunters. Then on this map, Focus went for earlier headhunters before the tech. And then he went for the priest here. And then he went for the other priest here. Got level 2. We're already going to see an adjustment from Lynn. Phoenix, no comment, bro. So the peon's going to go. What does this peon accomplish? Maybe we haven't actually talked about this too much in this show, but this might be something, if you're a more advanced player, it's obvious what this peon's going to do, but we'll talk a little bit about it. What this peon does, as we didn't see Focus do in the last game, we're going to see Lynn do, stops the footman from pulling the mercenary camp, so that the human player cannot grab the priest. What does grabbing the priest do? Well, of course, it can heal your archmage if you take damage, but it can also abolish your wolves. So this peon will stop that footman from ever getting the priest, if done correctly. Right, so this is a nice little detail. It's gonna stop Chaemiko from getting that priest. What does this also indicate generally? Well, if you don't stop the priest, you can't really do any harassment because they just get rid of your wolves, so then you're sort of forced to creep. So this is why last game we saw Focus didn't go for this peon, but instead he just crept. He just said, you can get the priest, you can delay your tech by getting that priest, but I'm just going to creep instead. So what this indicates to me is that Lynn wants to pressure a bit more. Right? He wants to pressure a bit more, and he wants to deny this priest so that the pressure does a bit more. Right? So maybe something that's obvious to the more advanced players, but something worth noting for sure. See, I knew this would spark an argument in the chat. And we're going to see this because this is pretty important. Let's actually, we're going to come back to this. Let's first check the build order. This is new, right? Very early second burrow. So this is early headhunters, as early as possible, and he's investing in a second burrow early on as well. So he wants as many headhunters as he can get early on, reasonably, while still getting that tech up. Note the build order, right? Different build order. Excuse me. Let's watch this peon. Let's watch what it does. Just goes. The footman has to drag this, but if he drags, the peon can just attack the creeps and stop it. It can also block the footman. So the peon did his job successfully. No priest. Farseer coming across the map. There should be headhunters on the way. There is indeed. Yeah, Crab's a great player. All right, sorry, I was having a sip of water. And what do you know? No creeping from Lynn. He's going into the base. He's pressuring the Archmage. There's no priest here to stop the wolves. 2 farm tech again. We know this indicates rifles at this point. Headhunters coming across the map. Note one also thing. Is that a set? Yeah, I think that makes sense. One also thing. No extra peon from Lynn. This peon that stopped the priest is his 7th lumber peon. Right? Let's double check that. Make sure I'm not wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I was right. My math was right. So typically, orc players will just suicide their peon in here, their 8th lumber peon. But what bringing this peon back and not suiciding it, not overcommitting it to scouting, so that Lynn could get the second headhunter as early as possible before this burrow finished. So he was at 17 out of 21 supply, the first headhunter 19 out of 21, the second headhunter 21 out of 21. And then when this burrow finishes, he could, of course, get this third headhunter. This burrow finished, about halfway through this guy, right? So that's what Lynn did here. He's getting a second headhunter as early as possible. and then a third Headhunter as early as possible, delaying the tech even more. Just this little detail, but again, the slight differences to the build order, although the same units for all 3 players so far.
A player's forces are under attack.
It's a little bit different, but, you know, again, he denies the priest, he gets 3 Headhunters before teching, lots of pressure coming the way of Chaemiko.
A town is under siege.
Elky, what a legend, the poker player. Very cool. Yeah. Going for a farm cancel. And this is what Headhunters are good at. Would you be able to do that with grunts? Maybe with just the wolves and the Farseer, but the Headhunter really allows you to cancel buildings as well. That's what's so cool about Headhunters as opposed to grunts. Why no Arcane Tower? If you go watch episode 1 of TheoryCraft, you could figure out what's going on the human side of things as well. But I'll just say, to get a faster tech so that Chaemiko can hit a clean timing on tier 2 is why he has no tower right now. Going again for the farm cancel. The tech is, of course, coming in, but this is the slowest tech we've seen from our 3 orc players today. And look how effective the pressure is. Look how delayed the level 2 is. Look how damaged these footmen are starting to get, as well as the Archmage. These Headhunters have successfully pressured. And look again, this is what they're great at. Someone mentioned earlier in the chat their range. I did watch, but I forgot. That's all right. Look, their range. Someone said that. That's an advantage they have as compared to grunts. Cancels the Arcane Tower. This is what Headhunters are so great at early on, is this sort of pressure. You can cancel the farms, you can cancel the towers, you can keep the Archmage in his base, keep him without aura, keep him on level 1, and then he goes back and creeps. Incredible. Yeah, I think Shade, he would have replaced it if he lost it, but it still would have worked out supply-wise. If he had to replace it, it just would have delayed his tech a little bit more. But if he had preemptively built an 8th peon, there's a potential for him to be blocked on 1 Headhunter, is the idea, right? I assume. I don't know for sure, but that's my guess. That he would have. Headhunter's confirmed range. An important point. This won't get level 2, but 1 more creep will. But look, ooh, Lyn gets level 2 on his own. Just beautiful. Look at the experience of the Archmage. Look at it. Lyn knew he had just enough time to go back, creep this, and still stop Chaemiko from getting level 2, because where else are you going to get it if you're the human? You'd have to run up here to get it. Which by the time, again, Lyn has done creep in this camp, he can go up here and stop it. So any way you look at it, Lyn would have stopped the level 2 on the Archmage. Just sick. And now, again, he just goes for a big creep camp. What's another difference so far that we've seen from Lyn? What's something different? We're looking at it right now. What's different compared to the last 2 games from Lyn? What's different? What's different? It's very clear. It's very clear. We saw Focus last game creep in this shop at this time. Same thing. He did get pressured off by Chaemiko, who was already level 2. But what's different? What's different? Lyn is blue. Starscream, thank you. Number of Headhunters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've seen from... Let's go back here. Boo, 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 boo. We saw from both Focus and Fly in the past 2 replays, they only built 4 Headhunters. Now let's go into a little bit of detail on this. I might be incorrect on some of the specifics, but let's talk about how much gold we have when we hit tier 2 and stuff like that. When you hit tier 2, you have about enough gold for your second hero, and then just enough about to get your tier 3 tech. You know, you're getting close to getting your tier 3 tech if you want to. Or you can get, you know, your second hero and like a tier 2 building, and then a little bit later you can get your tier 3 tech if you build 4 Headhunters. But if you build 6, you could pretty much just get your second hero on tier 2. You can't get any tech early, and you certainly can't go to tier 3 very early. So this is a big investment, but it's an investment into tier 2 for Lyn. Right? Whereas cutting those 2 Headhunters for both Focus and Fly was because they wanted to go to tier 3 and because they wanted to get 2 production buildings. They got 2 Torn Totems or a Torn Totem and a Bestiary. They wanted to more heavily invest into the later game. So they needed to cut 2 Headhunters. which I might be incorrect on some of the prices, some of the details, but that, certainly Headhunters do cost gold and lumber, and certainly so does the tier 3 tech. So I imagine that's what Lynn is. That's why we only saw 4 Headhunters from both Fly and Focus, was because they needed to cut it to afford what they wanted to get, which is late game stuff. Pretty neat. But we see just how effective these couple of extra Headhunters are. Look how effective they are. Chaemiko's going to get his own level 2, but not without struggle. In the base, we're going to see Torn Chieftain almost out. Spirit Lodge, look how late it is. A little bit late. Whereas before we saw this come up at the same time as this, it's a little bit later. But, we could see a tier 3 tech now, but what are we seeing? Ooh. What are we seeing? Note that Lynn also got Troll Regeneration before this grunt. It's a grunt. It's a grunt. It's a grunt. It's a grunt. 6 Headhunters. And this is a grunt. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh. Notice the wolf going into the base. There was previously a wolf in the base as well that scouted the blacksmith. So this blacksmith has been confirmed by Lynn. Let's make sure of that. All right, maybe it hasn't. But what this wolf is going to do is certainly confirm that now. I thought he had already scouted it. Whatever. Sometimes people are wrong. But he's definitely going to go confirm it right now. But what also would have confirmed it is the fact that he saw the 2 farm tech earlier from Chaemiko, right? And as we pointed out in the first replay, 2 farm tech from a human player in Korea is generally a tell that they're going for rifles. What's good against rifles? Well, Taurens. That's what Focus and Fly tried to get to. But also grunts. Grunts are good. What are grunts also good for? Well, you could build them out of a barracks. You could build them out of a barracks. He could build them in tier 1 if he wants. He can get grunts. And he doesn't have to wait for tier 3. He doesn't have to wait for 2 walkers, ideally. He doesn't have to wait for sometimes a second Tauren totem, even. He could just build grunts. And you know what? They're good against rifles. And he's not going to die to a timing. He still gets all the good things of the Headhunters, the pressure into the base, the creeping potential, the late game potential as well. And he's not just going to die. Will he, though, Remo Demo? I guarantee you he will. I don't even know what the question was. Oh, someone asked you a question in the chat. He can just build grunts. And this seems like a little thing, but people don't really do this. They just go, okay, I got Headhunters. I guess I'll go tier 3 because they have a tier 3 upgrade. He's building grunts because you're going to die to rifles. Pretty neat. Note, Chaemiko also went for a Mountain King this game because he got pressured so heavily and because there's 2 extra Headhunters. No way that timing's going to work, and no way that Lynn is going to go for early tier 3 because he's got so many extra Headhunters. But again, 2 Headhunters died. Who lost 2 Headhunters early? The other game? Who was that? Oh, it was Fly. But he's got a grunt. Who needs Headhunters when you got grunts against rifles? And of course, Shamans coming out. We're going to talk more about these Shamans in the future as well. But of course, Shamans make sense if you're investing more heavily into tier 2, because you only go walkers because you eventually want to go into Taurens with Tauren totems, right? Whereas Shamans are better. They're immediate dispel. They don't take a while to get online. And of course, the whole point of the strategy is we don't want to have to take a while to get online. We want all the goods of the Headhunters without any of the bads that we've seen in the past. And look at the pressure. Look at the pressure. First Shaman comes in. Yeah, Emerald. Yeah, I've seen that before, for sure. And look at the pressure. That's a dead king. 2 Headhunters fell, yeah, but Lynn's still in fighting shape. He's got 2 grunts. He's got a Shaman. Imagine. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 Headhunters. Imagine he just had 2 Spirit Walkers here instead. Would this fight gone? Would it have gone as well? No! If he had 4 Headhunters initially, lost 2 of them, so he would have had 2 Headhunters and 2 Walkers. Maybe he rebuilds 1 Headhunter because he had some time before Tier 3. No, it wouldn't have gone this well. He lost 2. He still has 4. He's got 2 Grunts. His Shaman is immediately able to get rid of the Water Elementals. It's incredible. Why MK instead of Blood Mage? That's a good point, because of course we saw Blood Mage the last 2 games. Because of the amount of pressure that Chaemiko was under, he couldn't really do that timing. And because he also saw extra Headhunters. He saw 6 instead of 4, I would argue is the reason why he feels he's not going to be able to do a similar timing. Whereas 4, he knew previously, oh, they're cutting 2 Headhunters because they want to go early Tier 3 because they want to go for a greedy Tauren build, right? Whereas 6 is like, okay, he's investing into Tier 2. He's going to have enough army to hold this sort of timing. Right? Yeah, he also got brute strength for the grunts. Correct, yes. Right, and shamans are coming out still. 2 shamans into adept, same as everything else. And look, this army, I will note, as Lyn is going to micro this fight beautifully, this army doesn't look too cool, but it works. You know what looks cool? You know what army looks really cool, guys? Taurens, Walkers, reviving them, having Bloodlust on everything, Berserkers running all over the place, you know, crazy armies. That looks cool. There's 6 burning oil demolishers. That looks cool. That looks fun. Lyn's army doesn't look too cool, but it works, and that's going to be the story of this strategy. His army doesn't look great. It seems very ragtag, very thrown together, a couple of every unit, but every unit has a purpose, and he's able to hold on for just the amount of time to accomplish what he needs to accomplish to win in the end of the game. Very important. Very important. Although Focus and Fly, I'm sure, weren't trying to have fun, their strategy did seem much more sexy. No, I wasn't doing Bloodlust. I was doing the Headhunter Berserker sound. Headhunter Berserker sound. Right? It doesn't look sexy. The only sexy thing is Remo, says someone, and for some reason that wasn't allowed. Let's allow that. Right? Doesn't look sexy, but everything has a purpose and it works. Let's talk about the purposes of these units. Let's check it out. Speed scroll, Headhunters on the priests. The wolves, the grunts are going to get on a rifle. The shamans, notice there's been no lightning shield used. Okay, the adept isn't finished yet, but we're going to notice that in the future. The shamans are going to be used to just purge the water elementals. That's it. Get rid of the water elementals, get the grunts on the rifles, get the headhunters on the priests. What are you supposed to do? Everything is countered. Everything is countered. And again, Lyn wins a fight. He's still tier 2, still building grunts, getting adept, pulling a peon. Sweeping both shops. He took that fight because he did not want to allow Lyn to get both shops. But Lyn did get both shops, indeed. 1 ward thrown down. Remember this ward. Thrown down in the middle. These wards were picked up from the priest earlier. There's still 1 left on the Tauren Chieftain. Okay, this expansion is going to be built. Just counter everything, Forehead. Exactly. Just counter everything. Straight up. Look at him. He did. All right. Expansion goes down. Farseer puts down another ward here. Okay, look at Lyn's map vision now. Look at Lyn's map vision. All right, he's got this avenue covered completely. This avenue covered completely. There's 1 more avenue. This avenue, right? That's it. And then everything is covered by these wards. Expansion comes down. Lyn knows that Chaemiko just went back to his side of the map because he doesn't see him here and he knows he just won a fight. What's coming out of this? Witch Doctor. Boom. Right? Expansion's coming up. Full map vision. He knows that Chaemiko's in a defensive position. He just got Tauren Chieftain level 3. Farseer is going across the map to confirm the position of the human. Let's see how this plays out. Let's see how this plays out. Watch where the Witch Doctor goes. Everything has a purpose. This Witch Doctor is not a luxury Witch Doctor. I'm late game 60 supply against Night Elf, and I might as well build one because I want to know where he is. This Witch Doctor has a purpose. It has a purpose. It has a reason. Notice, he's only got 2 shamans. He got 2 shamans adept, and then immediately built the Witch Doctor as he was creeping the expansion, so that when the expansion finished, this Witch Doctor popped. And the Witch Doctor, it's not rallied to the army because he's like, oh, I don't know where to put it. It's rallied to a specific spot. This spot. Look. The only avenue that's not covered. Oh. This is so sick. This is so sick. Farseer buys a staff of teleportation because he wants to be safe when he goes to confirm the position of the human. Because what is he trying to do at this stage in the game? We know this very well from episode 1. He wants to keep his expansion safe. He doesn't want it to be canceled. Look at the ward. Look at the vision. Oh, look at the vision. Everything. Everything is covered. Everything is covered. This ward has a lot of life left. This ward has a lot of life left. Full vision of the map, essentially, with the Farseer confirming the exact location. What are you going to do? Invis your whole army? There's no smoke or whatever it is in Warcraft. Oh my lordy, 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 lordy. All right, Torn Chieftain keeping up the creeping. What else are we going to build behind this? Still no more shamans. Getting a bestiary up, of course, for for raiders, Kodos, all good things. Incredible. Incredible. Let's go back to the observer. Farseer's just confirming the position. That's all he's doing right now. Nice item for Chaemiko. Nice items. Level 3. Double mana pot. We know these things very well, right? This is around the time when Chaemiko would love to go cancel that expansion that he knows is coming up, because he knows that Lynn's committed to tier 2. When you're committed to tier 2, you generally need an expansion. So he's going across the map to try to cancel that expansion. But what do you know? Lynn has full vision of the map. He has full vision of the map. Farseer goes into the main base. Delay, delay, delay. Pulls the human army back. You may think right now, oh, Lynn's looking for a fight. Lynn's looking for a fight. No, he's not. He's trying to get his expansion up. Can you show unit upgrades? Absolutely. 0-0. 0-0. For the rifles, probably 1-0. 2-0. So a very strong human army. Double mana pot, health stone, heal scroll, true shot aura, 2-0 rifles, even supplies. So this is a winning human army, arguably. The hero levels are better for Lynn. But, this is still a very scary human army, right? With the double mana pots. Without these, I would say there's no way for Chaemiko. But with the double mana pots, with the level 2 clap, it's very much doable, especially against, 4 headhunters. But look, is Lynn going to take a fight stupidly? No, of course not. He's trying to get his expansion up. And he's got full vision of the whole map.
Forces are under attack.
Again, he sees Chaemiko in the middle. He knows he's got enough time to snag this creep camp. Level 4 on the Farseer. Uses a speed scroll because his inventory was full, but has a double purpose. Everything has a purpose. Again, buying more time. What do you know? The expansion is safe. And Lynn didn't even have to take a fight, didn't have to lose a unit, didn't even have to use a salve to do so. He did so with vision, with map control, with army positioning. Because canceling this expansion and losing every peasant in your main base for it is not worth it for Chaemiko. And that is what this army allows you to do. With level 2 wolves, with stomp, with lightning shield, chain lightning, you would lose like 8 peasants here. Because the base is open. This is open, right? Again, buying time, not fighting. These wards were dusted and killed. And now Lynn is covering that middle avenue with that. But the ward's still here, still seeing. And what do you know? The expansion's up and not cancelable. Lynn buys another heal scroll. And now he knows I've got to defend my peons, but you can't cancel my expansion. So he's coming back. And now watch. Again, Lynn could certainly win a fight now, but buy as much time as you can. You have an expansion up. You're trying to get as many units out as you possibly can. Wards, still utility from that Witch Doctor. Just buy as much time. Look, he's running away. He's not allowing Chaemiko to kill his peons. He's just buying as much time as possible. Berserker picked up. And now, as soon as, when he's forced to fight, now he can fight. And look at the micro. Look at the positioning. Claps only on the raiders and the grunts. Look, he can't clap. He can't. Now he's going to get a beautiful clap. That's a nice clap, but imagine if there was a couple more of those beforehand. Look at this. Nice stomp again. Notice Lin didn't use wolves because they would have just got dispelled. He's instead just spamming chain lightning. Notice he's not using lightning shield either because he doesn't need the damage. He's got the headhunters for that. He's got the chain lightning for that. He's instead using these couple of shamans, these 2 shamans that he has, to purely get rid of the water elementals, which are only level 1, but still, he's getting rid of them. He's getting more experience. He's getting close to 5/5. No lightning shield because he wants to invest into damage units. Headhunters, grunts, you know, Kodos to devour the rifles, as opposed to getting too many shamans and just spamming lightning shield, which just gets dispelled anyway. He's respecting Chaemiko's micro and instead just brute forcing the fights. And it doesn't look sexy. Look, he's got a berserker, he's got a witch doctor, a couple of grunts that are low, he's got headhunters, you know. It doesn't look sexy, but it's working. He forces the town portal out. And what has he done now? Even if they had traded 1 for 1, although they did not, this expansion's still up and mining. And look at the vision. Look at the vision. The only thing not covered is the middle of the map. I think actually during that fight the witch doctor was putting down wards, which is absolutely insane, but I think he was. Maybe he was in the fight, but I don't know how this ward just got placed. I guess he did it right after. Now just buying time. Raiders are again very good for brute force. They're good to force fight, to pick off units. Heal scroll purchased. 64 against 44 supply. And the Raiders also do one thing, which is allow the Mountain King to not get a good position, like he hasn't been able to get. More shamans being invested now, but still there hasn't even been a lightning shield used the entire game. Just purge to catch out of position units before Raiders, and to get rid of the water elementals, as we see here. There's enough damage without the lightning shield. You don't need it. Instead, invest the gold that you would have invested into extra shamans to get lightning shield into damage units, into grunts, into Kodos, all that stuff. Very neat. GG. Jesus. Jesus Wheezes. Oh my god. Can you believe it? Am I the only one that thinks that was crazy? Am I the only one that thinks this? That was a crazy game. That was insane. Can you believe that? How good is this guy? That was from the same day as those other replays. Same 30 hours, let's say. Maybe not same day. Wouldn't want to be. Same couple of days. But that's the same tournament, the same opponent. It's a totally different game. Chaemiko destroyed Fly and Focus when they did the same openers, same units, same matchup, even the same map for Focus. Incredible. Incredible. A lot of small things. Yeah, let's talk about those small things. Had a big impact. So what sort of adjustments did Lin make? You know, it almost, at the end of the game, it almost looked like an entirely different strategy, but it still, you know, was born of a very similar opening, right? So what did he do? He invested into more headhunters early. More headhunters early. What else did he do? He got that witch doctor after Expo, which is very important. He went grunts after 6 headhunters, right? He pressured instead of creeping. Early fights to delay timing. These are all things that Lin made adjustments with that Focus and Fly both didn't do. right? More Headhunters early. The Witch Doctor. The Witch Doctor is a brilliant addition, but it was particular to this map because there's some maps that you just can't do this. You can't cover all the avenues. On Concealed Hill, you can do it. On maybe like Amazonia is too small, but you know, Last Refuge, you can definitely do it. What other maps could you do it on? Terranus Stand, you could do it on both bridges, but it doesn't give you much time if it's on your bridges. But still, you know, it works on Last Refuge beautifully, this Witch Doctor. Yeah, map control. Map control. Yeah, he just controlled the map, and he just did everything perfectly. He knew when to take creeps, he knew when to take fights, and he knew when to just delay fights and not actually commit. So often do Orc players just say, I got the army, we're even supply, I got level 3 Tauren Chieftain, that's a big one. Orc players, when they get level 3 Shadowhunter against Undead, when they get level 3 Tauren Chieftain against Human, they just say, okay, I'm ready, let's go fight. I got level 3 second hero, let's go. And then they attack move into the Human, and then they go Human Imba. I didn't win the game right there. They won the fight. Whereas we saw how much Lyn delayed. He probably delayed for 2 minutes before actually taking the fight, even though he had heal scrolls. He had level 3 Tauren Chieftain. He had even army supply. He had those grunts that he needed already. He delayed for because he can, and because why not? I have an expansion on the way. The longer it goes for me, the better. He didn't just blindly fight. But when he did fight, it had a purpose. Yeah, just so sick. Just so sick, man. Just so sick. Oh yeah, he stopped the priest as well. He stopped priest pull. Right? These are all little adjustments, just little things that add up. You know, even let's say he did it, or did I say Expo? Yeah, he got an Expo on tier 2. And of course, he didn't even go tier 3 because he wanted to not die to a timing like his predecessors did. Is that the right word? Maybe. How sick is that? How sick? Sick boy, Lyn. Unbelievable. The same tournament. These weren't months apart. If I were to look at these replays, I'd be like, oh, this seems like a year of development. Right? Going from the focus fly style to the Lyn style. This is like, oh, you know, they started off thinking, you know, I'll go tier 3 because Headhunters really scale well into the late game and you get the upgrade, then go Taurens for that big front line. No, it's just right after Lyn busts this out. Just just perfect. Just perfect play. And I'm sorry, you know, I'm an Orc player. It's pretty crazy. Crazy to see. Orc player that struggled against Human for a long time, and seeing this is just like, oh my god. Oh my dear lord. Alright. Which, you know, there is for every race. You know, you see people like Moon, Laliat, Happy, 120, Sock, Chaemiko, Infi, TH. You see people like that, and they do stuff like this. Brilliant stuff sometimes. But, you know, takes them a few tournaments. Took Lyn a few tournaments to sort of get his groove going. Orcs were looking a little stale against Human for a long time. But this is fresh. Okay, 4th replay. 4th replay, we're going to see some similar stuff, but we're going to look at it on a different map and see what happens. And against a different opponent this time, too. It's going to be Lyn against Sock on Northern Isles. Here's the 4th and final replay of the day. Let's see what happens. Lyn Craigasm. Yeah, unbelievable, this guy. This guy is just so crazy. All right. Apparently they were testing hosts. Okay, yes, good. Good luck. There's a Human in the top right. This is Sock. This is Lyn in the bottom left. Human Imba. Maybe not. Sorry, Orc Imba. There you go, Lyn. That's right, Lyn. Orc is Imba and Orc's Imba all because of you. It's all your fault. All right. Northern Isles, arguably a worse map for Farseer Headhunters, and arguably a better map for Riflecaster. Let's just start from there. So this is probably a better map overall if we're going to see Riflecaster against Farseer Headhunters for the Human player. So last game was probably best case scenario for Lyn. He had a good map for it. He had a good early game for it. decent items, you know. Again, same thing. Early Headhunters is possible. Expect to see that second burrow. Expect to see no, 8 peon tech, like we saw from, I believe, Focus did that, or maybe it was Fly did that. Does it normally have a wood peon before saturating gold? On this map, this spawn, you can micro your gold peons with full efficiency. Hitman would confirm or deny that. I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying that. So Lynn was able to get 1 extra on wood a little bit earlier, which is a little bit advanced, and it's not the biggest of deals if you're not like a top player, but it can give you a little bit of an edge and a little bit more lumber if you micro your gold peons perfectly. On some maps, on some spawns. Northern Isles, Concealed Hill, Twisted Meadows are some of them. Four being called. 2 farm tech. Again, we know this indicates Rifle Caster. And the Headhunters, 2 burrows. 19 out of 21. 21 out of 21 will be that second Headhunter. Excuse me. And same stuff. Same stuff so far. Looks like a very similar game, right? Lynn's going for the pressure, same build. Sock's going for the same build, but on a different map. Got claws. Best case scenario for Sock.
A player's forces are under attack.
And this tower is in a pretty good position in that it probably won't be canceled by Headhunters like we saw Chaemiko's getting canceled last game. And if Sock builds his farm in the back, that won't get canceled either. But he's going to build it up front, but maybe Lynn won't have an opportunity to do so this game. 3 footmen creeping. Much harder to stop the level 2 on this map than it is on Last Refuge. But the last hit is potential. Nope. Sock's got really good micro. So Sock's going to get level 2, and he got claws so far. And he gets a surround on the Farseer. So this is an extremely good early game, as well as the mantle. Could it get any better for Sock? I don't think so. This is probably as good of an early game as you're ever going to get against Lynn as a human player.
A player's forces are under attack.
Short of maybe like killing a Headhunter before that, but that's not going to happen against Lynn. So very good early game for Sock. But still, Lynn comes across the map because we know that he wants to pressure early. Oh, 1 footman could fall. And see, with grunts, you just can't do that. You can't capitalize on footmen being low like that. But with Headhunters, you can, which is really nice. So it really forces the human to respect you. Their King Tower's up, though. The Blacksmith is being power built. 4th farm. Everything's going well for Sock. He just lost 1 footman. But still, Sock is probably in the driver's seat. Shop coming up, although we probably won't see Lynn use that too often because he likes to get troll regeneration. We'll keep an eye better on this barracks this game to see those upgrades when they come, so you guys can see those, because I did miss those timings last game. So we'll keep an eye on that barracks. Again, Headhunter's very good at creeping, so Lynn's able to snag a big crucial camp much earlier than you'd ever expect it. And here's the thing, you wouldn't be able to do this with only 4 Headhunters. It'd be very difficult. With 6, though, you can do this. So the 6 Headhunters also are giving Lynn even more of an edge, in that he's able to take bigger camps earlier. Beautiful. Wards, another insane drop for Sock. Anka Reincarnation, not the greatest, but at least the Farseer is low, so you can utilize that. And he is going to utilize it right here. Most likely. Okay. Doesn't want to use it quite yet. Another Headhunter. Almost falls, but 2 footmen are killed. Don't worry. He's got an Ankh. It's better to use it early than later. Because in a big fight, if you have to use an Ankh, you could be cut out of position, and you're not attacking in that time. So better just to use it now.
A player's forces are under attack.
Tier 2 coming up. Brute Strength coming. These are Troll Regen already, so we got Troll Regen, and then immediately went into Brute Strength, Tauren Chieftain, Spirit Lodge. So 6 Headhunters, Troll Regen, Brute Strength, Wolf, go into the main base to confirm the tech, and then once you do confirm that rifles are coming up, then you can go into grunts. If you don't see rifles, well, what can you do? Well, you might not need the grunts. You can just continue to produce headhunters because they're good against casters, right? So it leaves you very open-ended, the strategy, to counter what you need to counter. Maybe you get earlier Kodos if you're not up against rifles. You just put down a bestiary, right? But it's very important for Lin to confirm what the tech is. He's also getting that staff again because he used his town portal earlier, so this will allow him to get out against potential Mountain King, wherever it is. It's over here.
A player's forces are under attack.
Again, we're probably going to see a couple of headhunters fall. This has been a common theme throughout the day. 2 headhunters falling most games. 1 so far falling. You do not get experience from an Ankh kill, no. Or the Torn Chieftain ultimate, you do not. You need to actually get the kill the hero. And 2 headhunters do fall, so again, 2 headhunters fell on Last Refuge for Lin, 2 headhunters are going to fall on Northern Isles for Lin. But he's keeping the army occupied, so this Mountain King cannot creep up. Again, delaying the potential for a timing from his human opponent to give him enough time to, potentially get an expansion up, to get these grunts out, to just counter everything. And here's the shamans, 2 shamans into Adept, right? Just like last game. Just like last game. Very hard to stop the human from doing this camp once the Mountain King pops, so Lin is just, trying to delay as much as he can, but more importantly, he's scouting it with the Farseer while allowing his Torn Chieftain to creep. Right, Grunt comes out, Peon coming to expand. Lin would have expanded earlier last game, I'm sure, but he took that beautiful fight in the middle and he was contesting the shop, so he couldn't get the expansion up as early as he could, but 40 supply, look at the gold. And there's the expansion. We would expect to see, if we were being consistent here, we'd expect to see a Witch Doctor coming up after this Shaman, but we're not going to see the Witch Doctor. And the reason why is it would still be good on this map, I'm sure, but you just imagine all the places you'd have to put wards. Lin had wards himself last game, whereas this game he, I believe, doesn't, unless he gets them here. If he does get them here, that would be nice, but still, you need to put a sentry. You definitely need to put one right here. And then you need to get one right here. And then you need one right here. And you potentially need them right here and right here. And then you cover every path the human can come your way. So it's much harder on Northern Isles than it was on Last Refuge for Lin to cover the whole map with vision. And that's why we're most likely not going to see a Witch Doctor on this map. Instead, I think Lin has to try to be a little bit more aggressive after this camp to try to delay by actually suggesting a fight to Sock, as opposed to delay by just playing hit and run with full map vision, right? But we'll see how he does this. Because the expansion is coming up, and if Sock wants to, he can march across the map and cancel this at any time. Nice items for the Torn Chieftain, though. Can't complain with those. He did actually get the wards, so maybe there's a world in which he could get a Witch Doctor and cover most of the map, but as it stands, he can at least get vision at the most crucial part of the map. And again, Lin, he's just buying time here. He's trying to delay Sock as much as he can. He's not going to probably overcommit into a fight. I was just waiting for him to speed scroll into the fight as soon as I said that, but no. Just delaying. Look, this is all delaying. Nice last hit. That's level 3. Malicious called. But again, just delaying, buying time, not committing into a fight. He got level 3 Torn Chieftain. Like I said in the last game, oh, I got level 3 Torn Chieftain, let's go, let's fight. Oh, I got a heal scroll, let's go, let's fight. But, you delay as much as you can. The expansion's still cancelable. So if Sock gets too close, that's when Lin's going to have to commit in. There he is. He purges the rifle out of position. Sock tries to defend it. And now this is kind of where you have to fight or your expansion's going to get canceled. So this is why Lin's fighting. Headhunters on the priest. Grunts on the rifles. No lightning shield. Only purging the water elementals. Look at the micro. Look at the stomps. Oh my dear lord. Look at the grunts. Look, just look. Look at this. These Headhunters just killed a priest here. These Shamans just purged a water elemental. These Grunts all on a rifle with the Wolves. The Torn Chieftain got a huge stomp right here. The Farseer is going to be able to speed scroll away and salve up. This is perfect from Lyn, this fight. Which, again, similar to the happy episode we did against Fairy Dragons. You know, it's not easy to do this, but just look at every unit serving its purpose. Here. This priest is about to get focused down, I'm sure. This Torn Chieftain is about to get a stomp here, I'm sure. Okay, he did use Lightning Shield, but he has a third Shaman to do so. If he had only 2, he would have very little mana to do so, right? So I'm eating my words a little bit there, but, you know, not using too much Lightning Shield. Because he's got the damage he needs from other sources, right? But still, using 1 Lightning Shield, why not? Can't hurt, can it? Now, Sock did get a couple of units towards the tail end of that fight. But the expansion is safe and secured, comfy in its bed, which is what's most important. This rifle almost able to be purged out of position. There it goes. And Lyn's successfully done what he wanted to do, which is secure an expansion and then just pump into this army that can just brute force himself into a victory. Expect to see a bestiary soon. Oh, I'm good at this. Here it is. Bestiary coming up. What's that for? Raiders, and then later on Kodos. What's Lyn doing here? Well, he's just buying more time to pump out this 60, 70 supply army that he wants to get up to. Maybe going to get a couple more units, but again, this is an overcommitment, right? So he's going to run away. Don't want to commit into militia. Don't want to commit into if there was a shop here potentially. But it did get killed, of course, so. Using that staff, getting lots of utility from that. It kept his Farseer safe once upon a time, and now it's going to get more items. The Farseer has control of the map, so he can go here, get a heal scroll, and an invuln. And the expansion's secured. The win condition is secured as well for Lyn. And look, 4 Grunts, 4 Headhunters. Is that 4? Yeah, 3 Shamans. He's got everything he needs. The hero levels are even, though, and the supplies are even. The upgrades, I'll point them out again. 2-0 rifles. Of course, for Lyn, you know, he could get an armor upgrade, but what he wants is just brute force. He just wants stuff. He doesn't need upgrades. Maybe reinforced defenses would be decent, but look, he's just breaking immediately as soon as he has enough gold. Kodo, Shaman, Grunt, or Grunt, Shaman, right? Just breaking right away. Brute force, not a strong late game army. Brute force to win now, right? To win fights consistently throughout the game. That's Lyn's goal. He's always in a position to win a fight. He's never vulnerable, I think, is the important point of this. Invis potion as well. Very much prepared for this fight as Lyn. Could use another heal scroll, but it's fine. There's a stomp. Mountain King's getting some good claps, some juicy claps. But look at the stomps. Oh, holy heckers. And look. 1. These Grunts are all on 1. The stomp is about to kill 2 rifles here. Look at this. Lightning Shield to deal with the militia. Kiting against the Mountain King so you don't eat claps on all this. The Koda's going to go up here and try to maybe eat this rifle. The Torn Chieftain's in a perfect position to stomp. Okay, he's using Lightning Shield. Okay, whatever. He didn't use Lightning Shield on the last refuge because he only had 2 Shamans. But this game he's building a couple more Shamans to get Lightning Shield. Okay, whatever. But look at this. Look at this picture again. Just beautifully done. Look at this. Oh, look at this. Rifle dying. Headhunter's going to get in position to deal with the Purge, Water Elemental. Everything's dying. It's just crazy. GG. Just crazy, dude. Just crazy. What was different about this game from last Refuge? Of course, he had to delay differently than he did because he didn't have the luxury of being able to cover all the avenues and play hit and run. So he had to be a little bit more creative with how he delayed, in that he had to wait for Sock to be out of position, purge a rifle, and then take a fight for a short amount of time. Right, so he had to be a little bit tricky, but he still managed to buy enough time for that expansion. He still managed to get up that Grunt, Headhunter, Shaman, Kodo army and then brute force himself to a victory. But every fight had a purpose. And getting those 6 Headhunters early had a purpose. Everything is done for a reason. Nothing is done for sake of looking cool or looking sexy, although Lin is a very sexy man. But in the game, nothing is done for the purpose of just looking good or having fun. It's all done for achieving that win condition. Right? And this is just sick. Just sick. One of the most beautiful adaptations of a already well-known strategy I've seen in a long time. Incredible. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and then you guys can get some questions ready in the chat if you want, and then I'll answer some questions. Right? We'll be right back. Thank you, guys. All right. We're back. First, I would like to say thank you to Gutty Sweden for the 10 euros. He says, go TheoryCraft, very good content, Carson. I'm sorry I missed that. It's about an hour ago. Sorry about that. But I appreciate it if you're still watching. Thank you very much. And Sickies, of course, with the tier 1 for 7 months. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. I think I'm all caught up other than that. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. That was pretty neat. Any questions, comments, concerns about anything before we end off for the day? Just like to say, of course, there's always a disclaimer when we watch these caliber of games that this isn't easy. Certainly not easy. Lin microed extremely well, but we also saw Chaemiko micro extremely well in the previous games, right? In the first 2 games we watched. Thank you, Remus. We saw Chaemiko micro extremely well, so great micro has to also be countered with great micro. So regardless of what level you're at, it's always going to be going down. So you still have to micro exceptionally well compared to yourself, right? Like you have to have a good game, I feel, for it to feel like the examples we've shown today. But it's still, it's tapered to your skill regardless, as long as you're playing people within your general area skill-wise. Can you elaborate on what makes Headhunter distinct from rifles, archers, and fiends? Sure. Well, Headhunters, of course, have a tier 3 upgrades, just like archers do, right? And rifles can scale with inner fire and stuff like that, and fiends are necessary because they're a non-committal anti-air unit as well. And they're also, they're well good with the orb. Like, what else are you going to go with orb? So they all have their own utility. But what Headhunters are good at is the fact that you don't need time to get them online. Similar to archers, but I will note, archers are much squishier, and they don't really have that early punch that Headhunters have. Right? Because you need to wait for their range to get online. You ideally need to wait for like your second hero, stuff like your Naga or your Alchemist before they're really online. So archers are kind of similar in that they get online, almost as early as Headhunters, but Headhunters are good immediately. If you have 2 Headhunters, you can still pressure your opponent in almost every matchup. Let's say not against Undead, unless it's a Crypt Lord. Right? But let's say for fiends, let's say for rifles, rifles aren't good until like the 7-8 minute mark because you need to get 3, you need to get 4. They take a while to produce. They're expensive. You need to get a range upgrade for them. You want like +1 attack. Same with fiends. You need to get a couple of them, and even then you need aura. You need level 2 for them to be very microable. You'd love to have burrow. You'd love to have stuff with it, frost armor, But for Headhunters, they're good immediately, they're cheap, and they produce very quickly. And because there's things like speed scroll for Orc, they're not easy to catch out of position. And because they have such good range early on as well, they're not like archers where if you forget about them for 1 second, they're just going to die to like 1 attack. Headhunters are squishy, but they're still, you can save them to an extent with speed scroll and with abusing the range they have early. So they're a little bit different in that way. but there's still range units which can scale well into the late game. You know, same idea there. A very important financial question: should I bet on Bidu or Neo? As always, amazing work. Thank you very much. Well, we are kind of doing this in a team thing, right? So it's going to be me, Bidu versus Neo and Remo. So I'm going to say you should bet on Ricky. You should bet on Bidu. But Neo's been grinding. In fact, I think he's grinding right now on ladder. So it's going to be tough, but Ricky's been playing too, so we'll have to see. I think it's going to be a very good match. It's going to be a very good match, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen in the 2v2, because 2v2, it's not something I'm very good at, certainly. It's something I enjoy playing a lot, but not something I know a lot about, so we'll see. And I don't think it's something that Neo and Remo know a lot about, especially if they're playing double undead. So we're going to see. And of course, what I'm talking about right now is our 2K celebration, or 2K. It's our 100,000 follower celebration on Twitch. And that is happening on April 2nd, which is where my mind got that 2 from, right? It's happening tomorrow. And it's happening at, let me translate the time, 7 p.m. CEST, 10 a.m. Pacific time, or 1 p.m. Eastern time. 100,000 follower celebration. What are we going to do tomorrow for that celebration? And if you're on YouTube, this is going to be on YouTube as well, I'm sure. The celebration. We're going to be doing a 2v2, me and Bidu against Remo and Neo. We're going to be doing me 1v1ing Remo Demo, which is going to be a tough match for me. I'm going to practice tonight. Hopefully one day of practice is good enough to make it competitive. I hope I can do well. I'll try my best. It's a matchup I'm comfortable in, so we'll see. And then we're, of course, going to have Bidu against Neo, which is very hyped because I think they're honestly probably very even in skill, and I'm excited to see who wins that. We're going to have trivia, which I made myself. So we're going to have Bidu against Neo doing the trivia, which I'm excited to do. I hope it goes all right. But I wrote it all myself. I think the questions are relatively challenging. We're going to have lifelines with the trivia. It's going to be dope. And we're going to do a nugget challenge. And we have some special announcements as well, which I won't share right now, but you should tune in tomorrow for the special announcements. There's very exciting news as well about that. What is the race you play with? I'm an orc player. I have played human and undead night elf a little bit in the past, but most of the time I've played Warcraft, I've played orc, which is why I was so excited today to do this. Yeah, it's gonna be hype. It's going to be hype tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting. And we're, of course, going to have Todd helping us out with all the production, so he'll be around as well. It should be very, very fun. Because, of course, we can't commentate well playing if we're playing 2v2 and stuff, so we needed somebody helping in the background. So Todd's generously going to help us out. So it's going to be very exciting. We're going to have the whole crew together. For probably the first time ever on stream, we'll have all 5 of us, including Todd. What's your favorite player? Currently, probably Lynn. Of all time? Well, Grubby was kind of the reason I started playing, which is a little bit of a meme now, but he really was. I saw his games on YouTube, and he was the reason I started playing Orc and more ladder and stuff like that. So I also liked Hu, the Korean Orc player, for a long time. Big fan of Ted, Chinese undead player. When is this? Tomorrow, April 2nd, Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central European Standard Summer Time, whatever you guys call that. Yeah, European summertime. You betrayed Sock. Well, yeah, I do love the Korean humans as well. But after seeing Lynn's performance, you got to go with him, man. He's crazy. But I've always been a big fan of Korean players. Yeah, someone mentioned in the chat, Sock and Chaemiko I've been huge fans of. I actually predicted that Sock was going to be, I said this in like 2018. I was like, in 2019, Sock's going to be the #1 ranked player in the world, which didn't happen, but I had a lot of faith in him, right? I was like, he's going to be the best player in the world. He's going to be the next Moon in 1 year. It wasn't true, but he's still a very, very good player. I'm a big fan of his. But yeah, right now it's got to be Lynn. What time Pacific? 10 a.m. Pacific. When are Asian humans going to unretire and actually play human? Yeah, you mean Infi and TH? Yeah, well, I hope TH begins to play a bit more, and Infi doesn't seem like he's going to be playing a ton of stuff. Did who invent stacking up your blade with damage items? I forget the guy's name, but there is it was an Asian orc player that was the first one to sell his TP and buy a circlet. I forget who. It wasn't who, I don't think, though. But there was a player known for being the first to sell his town portal and buy a circle. Was it Zakard? Maybe it was just Zakard. Yeah, it should be a long stream, though. It should be at least 5 hours. So if you don't wake up right away for it, you know. Are your questions always ignored after you put the kappa? No. Did you put a kappa question? Did I miss it? If I missed your question, you can retype it. Can they even challenge each other? I'm not sure what you mean. And who's commentating tomorrow? Well, it'll be whoever's not playing. So for the 2v2, I'm sure it will just be Todd. And then for the 1v1s, it'll be me and Remo with Todd, or Neo and Bidu with Todd when me and Remo are playing. Don't complain, dude. You live in Hawaii. That's funny. You ready to smash 60 nugs at 10 a.m.? Well, it'll be more like probably 2 p.m. for me there. So I should be all right. I'll make sure to have my breakfast. I think I'm going to do better. Last time I only did 38, so I'm hoping I can get at least 50 this time. If I drink lots of water, eat my breakfast very early in the morning. Think Happy has too many commercials on his stream? Well, people still watch his stream, and, you know, he's getting paid. So as long as people are still watching, I guess he can do what he's got to do. How much money will Bidu inherit from Metallica royalties? I'm not sure what you mean. Yeah, they're both preparing. I'm not sure what Remo's done to prepare. He's honestly much better than me, so I don't think he needs to prepare much. But, you know, maybe if he's slacking and I have an extremely good day, maybe I can have a good showing. But, you know, Remo probably doesn't have to do too much to prepare for me. But Neo and Bidu are both preparing quite a bit. How long have you been in the scene, and who's the best player in that period of time, in your opinion? I've been in the scene since 2010. So later. I started playing about a couple weeks after the patch 1.26 came out, which is a patch they nerfed Fairy Fire, they nerfed Windwalk, they nerfed tanks. I forget what else they did in that patch. Oh, they nerfed Ensnare, so that it took an extra raider to permanently ensnare a hero. I think it took 3 at the time, and they made it so it took 4. So 1.26. And who's the best player in that period of time, in your opinion? I would say the players that stood out the most were... that was around the time when TH was really starting to become like, this guy's crazy good, because the Koreans weren't around at that time, right? I think, as far as I know, I might have my dates mixed up a little bit. Lin, Moon, and Michael were all still in the army. And Laliat hadn't become the force that he is today. I don't think he was that until like 2014, so there was no Laliat. So really, TH was the man with Infi at that time. And also, TED was still playing competitively, right? TED was still playing competitively, and he was grinding, and eventually he got that WCG in 2012. So he was really standing out at the time to be the first undead to really take those tier 1 titles. You know, whatever. Maybe not to take tier 1 titles, but around that time, undead was not having a good time. So it was TED for a bit. And then, of course, 120 when he came up in 2015. I knew him before from iFang Cups as Terra. TARA 570 or something like that. I used to watch him in iFangs. I was like, this guy's really good. I didn't think he was going to be as good as he is now, but then he really stood out. And then, of course, Happy came back, and he stood out. So it's really been the undeads the last 10 years that have really been picking it up. And, of course, there was WFZ in the middle there, as well as Cheshi. Those two guys really stood out. I think people debate whether Cheshi was really as good as people say he was back then, but I saw his games in those Zotacs. I think he was a very strong player around that time. We think about Ted being back on top of the ELO rankings. Yeah, I don't know about that. Ted doesn't even consider himself. Sky was also around. Was he around? Because I was a little bit oblivious to the scene. That's why I'm saying TED was the first on my radar in 2012, because I was a brand new player until 2012 about. I really didn't know pro players or the scene or anything. I just watched some YouTube commentaries, and I was very, very a beginner at the game. So until about 2012, 2013, I wasn't fully aware of the competitive scene or like good players. So that's why really the top players were on my radar only 2012 and onward. .26 was the matchup where Nidos would just mass Dryads in every matchup. Well, funny story. When I first started playing, I would play against computers, and I played Night Elf, and I would go Demon Hunter, Panda, mass Dryads every game, and just play the computer over and over again. All right, cool. That was fun. That was a fun little chat. You guys have any more questions before we wrap up for today? And then next week will be Undead Week. Undead Week. And then it'll be, I believe, Night Elf Week, and then community replays, and then, or maybe it'll be community replays, then Night Elf Week, then interview. I'll figure it. I'll let you guys know the schedule next week, but next week will be Undead. Maybe we'll do some more replays from DreamHack Regional Finals. Maybe some 1-2-0, maybe some Happy, maybe Krav. Who knows? Okay, share your thoughts on the EPT map changes. I don't know. Did they keep EI and remove TS? Is that what I heard? Because I didn't actually hear it. I didn't actually hear what the changes were because I've been so busy. I haven't looked into them. Did they remove TS? Did I get that right? They removed TS and TM kept EI. Move TS to TM plus ALTH, right. So Tidehunters Autumn Leaves for TS TM. Well, TS I think is, I'm not, of course not an expert in every matchup. I'm probably not even an expert in a single matchup, so I don't know what it's like at the highest level, but I was under the impression that Terranistan was relatively balanced and a very entertaining map. I had no issues with it. It certainly wasn't on my radar for needing to be removed, but possibly there's some undead against night elf issues there, or of course human against orc is a problem, but it gets vetoed anyway. Maybe they were looking at the statistics of the most vetoed maps, which would be TS and TM, because human always vetoes TM and very often TS is vetoed by orc. So maybe they just straight up went for the most vetoed maps and then added the two most recent maps. Right, okay, so that is what they did. But TM just got that forced cross spawn, which we don't even have a chance to see how that works out for the meta. I think that's a great change that should have been done a while ago. And I think that could have made the map much more viable for especially human, possibly, if there was some time to figure it out. But, these are both very entertaining maps, if given a chance. And they're both maps that have been relatively recently changed, right? So I don't agree, but I think getting a revolving door of maps is good for the longevity of the scene and for making it exciting to viewers, which is also crucial. It's not just for competitors. It's also for the viewers of the game, which in bigger esports, Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, the viewers pay the players' bills, right? Not so true in Warcraft. Warcraft, we're all just in it for the fun of it and the enjoyment of the game, the love of the game, but viewers are as important as the players. So it's about the maps being entertaining as well as balanced and competitively viable, right? Which now they're skewing the map pool to just purely what the players want. And the players are biased because they play one race. So that's my take. That's my take on it. But I like Autumn Leaves and I like Tidehunters, and I don't have them vetoed on ladder. I do play all the new maps on ladder. So I think it's worth giving them a try. But should we remove TS and TM? Probably not. All right. That's it. Good questions, guys. Enjoyed that. That was a fun little discussion. Not so much about the episode, but I think Lynn proved me well enough without having to answer questions. But that was fun. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday and Monday. I'm casting till Monday, baby. And tomorrow, of course, we have WGL with Rima Demo. And then we have our 100K follower celebration. So tune in. There'll be plenty of Warcraft throughout the weekend. There's going to be like double duty, I think, every day. So if you guys want to see Warcraft, go no further, man. Follow the channel. Follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Check it out. There'll be plenty of content. We always tweet about it. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week if you only tune in for this show, which is probably not too common. We'll see you guys. Cheers. Bye.